Hello, race fans, and welcome once again to another high-octane episode of Trackside, proudly presented by Document Technologies. Document Technologies provides a comprehensive range of managed solutions, including multifunction devices, managed print services, and document management software. They're also known for their fast service, boasting an average response time of 2 hours or less, and offer high-quality product multifunction devices alongside document management and cloud hosting software. Stay tuned, racing enthusiasts, because the action starts right now, right here on Trackside.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Trackside. I'm Terry Turner. Right there is Randy Dye. Randy, let me just say this, and that's all I'm going to say, and then we'll just roll on. You just never know what might happen in a day. Would you agree?
It's been a day. Yes, sir.
Well, we've all three kind of been out of breath. Mark has been I had this thing on my mind. I have to repeat it again because it's just so brilliant. And that is, I told Mr. Mark after hearing some of his goofy a 60-foot tree fell on my shop. Things happen. But in Oklahoma, where I'm from, Randy, we have a phrase. I think I came up with it when I was about 15, so that was a long time ago. And that phrase is "get her done." Have you ever heard that, Randy?
A time or two.
Well, I would tell you that Larry, the cable guy, did not come up with that.
No, he's not. He's not as old as you are, so I'm sure that's probably the case.
Yeah. So he just copied me. I haven't made a dime on that either. Well, let's talk about this. A big race, a huge weekend. Last weekend at Charlotte, really a great weekend. So much fantastic recognition of our troops, our veterans. CW did some great things. I mean, Amazon Prime, it was just really, really fine. But talking about goofy things that happen, let's talk about our favorite driver in the number 10 Xfinity race car. That'd be Daniel Dye, and a penalty. A couple crew members suspended through the Mexico race, and loose wheel. So talk to us about what happened there.
Yeah, so we're not entirely sure. We do think it probably happened maybe on the second stop, where the lug nuts got cross-threaded, and it never, it kind of was an evolution into a final big problem where the lug nuts just didn't have anything left to hold on to. Almost made it to the end. Over time, he was scrubbing the tires, trying to make sure he had heat in them. He noticed it on the last pit stop. He said, "Hey, I got something going on here. Something broke in the left rear." And what he felt obviously was the wheel moving on the hub, and he even made a comment that when he turned to the right is when he felt it the worst. So that was when it put all the pressure on. Turning to the left, and he said, "I don't plan on turning right." So, but then under caution it fell off. So I guess a bad circumstance for sure. When a wheel falls off, you get a penalty for that. But from my perspective, I'm grateful that it fell off under caution, not while we were full steam ahead.
Yes, the 160 plus miles an hour. If it came loose, it could be a whole different ball game. But we were talking off air, Randy, about things that happen in racing, and talking about the fact that these guys try to predict the races and championships and all. There's too many factors. There's no way you can do it. I would just wonder, and we talk about Chase Elliott a whole lot and all the crazy things that he went. I just wonder, if maybe Daniel could talk to Chase. I mean, Daniel's got a great attitude about everything, but it's got to be frustrating. And then let's look too at Kyle Larson. All of us were so excited about the double, the Indy 500. What a spectacle the Indianapolis race is, and the crowd and all of that. And Kyle really got impatient and downshifted and caused himself to wreck, and then flew to Charlotte and wrecked three more times. So even for the best of the best, you can have bad days, can't you, Randy?
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, it's I think this guy clearly is the best in the sport today, and there's no, I don't think anybody can argue that. But he had, he wrecked 3 times in Indy, leading up to the Indy 500, including the day of the event, and then he goes to Charlotte and wrecks again. So I think I guess the bottom line is that I hated that our pit crew messed us up for sure. With regard to pit stops twice in a row. But this is still a human sport, and I think that's one of the great things about it. It's human performance, and sometimes human performance is phenomenal, and sometimes it suffers. And but it is always a team sport, and I think that's something to remember. And we win together and we lose together.
Well, it also says, and again, we were talking off air about this, that Kyle Larson is probably the best driver going in all aspects of racing right now, and he's going to be up there with Richard Petty and Dale Sr., et cetera. But admittedly so, Kyle Larson made some mistakes at Indy and at Charlotte. So even the best crew members, drivers, et cetera, can make mistakes in racing.
Well, that's true. I mean, I watched, Daniel's race, and I watched some film afterwards. That car was so free. I don't think I've ever seen a car at that speed be that sideways like it was. And oddly enough, Kyle Larson's car was similar. The difference was Kyle Larson spun out. Daniel didn't. Either way, the cars weren't very good. And then mistakes happen. So in Daniel's case, we were close to probably had that wheel not come off. I think we might have got a top 10 out of it. Certainly, we would have got another top 20 out of it. And but it's part of the sport. It's a part that's frustrating, but it's also the part that keeps you watching. Because there's too many variables in this sport for it to be predictable. It just doesn't go that way. You can't. You can sit here all day long. We could have a component of our program that says who's going to win the race, who's going to win the truck race in Nashville, who's going to win the Xfinity race in Nashville, who's going to win the Cup race, where the top 5 going to be, who's going to have a surprisingly dismal finish. We could have all that discussion, and it's fun to talk about. But we got no idea because there's too many things that can happen that you don't have any control over.
Yep, that is for sure true. What two crew members, no cash penalty, but 2 crew members suspended. As I said, how does that affect the team? Well,
the team is. As in all athletes, you talked about get her done there in Oklahoma, and one of the guys that could get her done really well from Oklahoma back in the day was Mickey Mantle. But Mickey Mantle had bad days. He struck out, right? And you're harder on yourself normally than anybody else is going to be. You expect a certain level of performance out of yourself, and when you don't live up to that, you know it before anybody knows it, and it's tough. It's tough because you can't unwind it. You can't go back and get a do-over. You just got to go from here. So the key here is not dwell on it. The key is to get that good image, get that good energy going, and put all that behind you and look out the front and say, okay, we're going to go from leaving the wheel loose to having the best pit stop we've had all year. That's where you got to be looking, and that's generally the way everybody works at it. Yeah.
All right, a little Mickey Mantle baseball trivia.
Okay.
Mickey Mantle's number. Remember?
Mickey Mantle's number?
Yes, sir.
7.
That's right. What cost Mickey Mantle his career? It was an injury that happened that really ended up running the rest of his career?
I thought he had an ulcer.
Actually, all this crazy stuff started in the outfield. They have sprinkler systems, and even back then, the sprinkler systems, they pop up out of the ground, and there was a sprinkler head that was up. Me being from Oklahoma, I've really studied. He was my hero when I was a baseball player, left-handed guy. Sprinkler head up, tripped over, it caused leg injuries, and that kind of started the downfall. Just, I know this is a racing show, but we love Mickey Mantle, both of us. So. Roger Maris's number, real quickly. What was that number?
6.
Number 9. Number 9.
Oh, I got it. Well, I was right. It was just upside down.
and so today is completely upside down, ladies and gentlemen. That's just part of it. So with that, speaking of upside down, let's go see what happened, because we got some great racing locally, and we're very fortunate to have that. Let's see what happened. Let's go to the local segment of the Trackside program.
One Daytona, located across from the world's center of racing, is proud to present our local segment, where we talk with a local star in your part of the country following a big win, event preview, and much more. One Daytona in Daytona Beach is a vibrant destination offering an array of shopping, dining, and entertainment options, including unique events and live music suitable for families and individuals alike.
Alicia Speedway Park back in action on Saturday, June 14th as summer events kick off with another Fab 5 event, the Firecracker Showdown. Dirt car UMP modified, 604 late models, 602 late models, factory stocks, and 3/4 modifieds will bring the heat for the third Fab 5 race of the season. Some intense action at New Smyrna Speedway last Saturday night. Richie Smith wins the modifieds, George Gorham Jr. wins the trucks, Zach Curtis in the Bomber Bees gets that win, and Toby Smith in the Ground Pounders. Get out to New Smyrna Speedway on Saturday night for the May Family Fun Night, $5 general admission and first responder night, featuring sportsmen, Bomber Bees, spectator racing, 602 mods, and super stocks. Heat races start at 6, feature races start at 7:30. Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola will be back in action on Friday, June the 13th, with the PRM 100, trucks, crown stocks, pure stocks, and bike races for kids under 12. A big weekend for NASCAR at Charlotte Motor Speedway and a great weekend for veterans. In the Truck Series, Corey Heim gets the win. Xfinity Series, William Byron. And in the Cup Race, Florida's own Watermelon Man, Ross Chastain, comes all the way from the back to bypass the race leader and the man who dominated the race, William Byron. And so a great win for Ross Chastain and a great win for Trackhouse Racing. And not so great a weekend for Kyle Larson as he competed in the Indianapolis 500 and in the Coca-Cola 600. Rex took him out of both races. Tonight in Nashville, the truck races begin at 8 p.m. You'll see that on Fox Sports 1. Xfinity guys take the track tomorrow night at 7:30. That is on CW. And the Cup guys Sunday at 7 p.m. And that is on Amazon Prime. It really was a great weekend. A lot of recognition for our veterans, etc. So, again, thank you to all of those guys. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd really want you to have your full attention, your ear to the radio, and listen very carefully as we go into the truck section of the Trackside program.
The Tough Trucks of NASCAR are next up on the agenda, presented by Aaron Delgado and Associates. With over 110 combined years of experience in criminal defense and personal injury, Aaron Delgado and Associates takes pride in vigorously representing clients in various challenging legal situations within the community. Now, let's go trucking.
Well, stacks of press releases come across my desk in this subject, and I want to just, forgive me for reading to you, but just a brief press release. You've kind of got a bird's eye view of this particular thing that I want you to comment on. But as I read this, Dodge is reportedly preparing to return to NASCAR initially in the Truck Series in 2026, with the possibility of a move to the Cup Series as early as 2027 or 2028. The manufacturer is seeking NASCAR's formal approval to field a truck under the Ram brand in the Truck Series. This would be their first return to NASCAR since withdrawing official support after the 2013 season, though they still had some limited Truck Series entries until 2016. So, what do you think? I know this has kind of gone back and forth, and there's not a lot that could be said, and it was rumored, but the rumors continue to kind of keep coming out and coming across our desk. Bring us up to speed as much as you can.
Well, I think, it'll take somebody in a much more official capacity than me to be able to speak whatever they're going to speak. I do think it's fair to say that there is a tremendous amount of activity. The industry is abuzz. There's a lot of conjecture, speculation. But the one thing that I think is consistent is that there is a serious effort that is, I believe, nearing completion that could see, the Ram brand back in the Truck Series. I think that is a real possibility. I would say to you that I would hope that it occurs. I think it's, and I say that, obviously I'm a race fan, but I'm also a business person, and I think it's good for our business. I believe in the NASCAR platform. I believe in the value that it brings to companies that do business in this country, and I think it will be beneficial to the Ram brand if they make that final decision to proceed and get back in this sport, and hopefully as quick as 2026. I've been, you know me, you've wore me out with this for years, ever since they left. So, but I do believe, I will say, I think I can say it this way: there's enough hope, there's enough activity to have hope that this will actually occur.
Wow. Well, how exciting that would be. And since I have driven you crazy, in tradition, I want to continue to do that. So, but so 2027, 2028 Cup Series possibilities. I've seen some renderings of some cars that could be the Cup Series cars. Do you know at this point what that car really is, or is it too early to tell, or can you tell us, or no, or what?
Well, I think if you look at the lineup and you say, well, what would they race? Well, I think you would have to say today, if you were making that decision based on today, it'd have to be a Dodge Charger, the new Dodge Charger.
Right.
But you don't know what a manufacturer is going to bring out in 2026 or 2027. You don't know. But there's a process. This is pretty. I mean, this isn't something that is like I've got the secret. There's a process by which you have to go through to actually be able to compete in NASCAR, and it's a fairly. I mean, there's timelines, benchmarks, certain things that you've got to meet, and it's a. I mean, it's not a 6-month process. It's going to take it takes a minute. So,
right.
If it was today, it would definitely be a Dodge Charger. Would it be a 2-door or a 4-door? Well, I hope it's a 2-door.
Right.
Nobody's seen the 4-door Charger yet on the road. You'll like it. It's good. But for my taste, I'd hope it'd be a Dodge Charger. But we don't know that that's going to happen yet. We got to wait and hear what those guys up there in Auburn Hills are going to say.
Exactly. But, just the fact that it really does look good for trucks and for Ram is so exciting. There's no doubt about it. So I guess last thing before we take a break would be, is there any way with your influence that we could twist NASCAR into twisting the manufacturer to bring a Challenger back for the Cup Series race car? What do you think?
Holy cow! You are doing it again, are you? You're just going to keep going. Yeah. No, I have, man. I'm out on that one. I got nope. I got nothing to say about that. I'll say this. I will do my best if this all comes to pass. I'll do my best to get somebody from up there in Auburn Hills to get on our program with us and talk about it.
Oh, great. That would be a lot of fun. And I promise to behave if that ever happens, no doubt about it.
Oh, my gosh.
But I do miss the Challenger. I just got to say.
Well, I tell you what I miss, and it's a gas engine. So, but I know that's coming back too.
Oh yes, I think that's that's all good news, no doubt about that. Well, we definitely will keep you posted, ladies and gentlemen, and I promise to keep bugging Randy about it so we can get answers for you because obviously I'm a big fan of the Dodge product. Own many of them, including the Dodge Charger. So we'll wait and see, but it really is exciting news to see some more serious talk come about, Randy. I know you're excited about it. I know as a businessman that, if Ram is racing in the truck series, that it'll help sales. Would you agree with that one?
No question.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot more to cover. We're going to talk some exciting television ratings for the Xfinity Series when we come back. Man, we got some exciting stuff in the Cup Series as well. So don't go anywhere because we'll be right back. You're listening to Trackside.
Introducing the all-new tractor and outdoor power equipment section at DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors. Now you can gear up for your outdoor projects with premium brands like Bobcat, Massey Ferguson, Shindaiwa, Echo, and more. Need a powerful lawnmower for that perfectly manicured lawn? They've got it. How about a rugged tractor to tackle those big projects? DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors has you covered. And let's not forget the Lawn and Garden Center with everything from weed whackers to chainsaws. Commercial or residential, DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors has the goods to keep you moving. So why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary? Visit DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors today at their new location and explore the thrilling world of outdoor power equipment. DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors, where the thrill of the ride meets the power of the great outdoors. Your journey begins here.
Welcome back to Trackside as we now take a look under the hood in the NASCAR Xfinity Series presented by Daytona's Garage. Daytona's Garage offers more than just standard dealership customization. They provide a comprehensive range of services for personalizing and enhancing cars, Jeeps, and trucks of any make and model, focusing on both aesthetics and performance with affordability. Reliable service. Now, back to Terry and Randy.
Randy, just a quick side note before we delve into Xfinity. Old people don't sleep, so, sometimes we dream. So I dreamed that, speaking of DeLand Motorsports, that you guys got together. They're a sponsor and very proud to have them. And we put together a zero-turn lawnmower races at the Daytona International Speedway. It was a great dream.
I don't know. That sounds like a nightmare to me, but okay.
Well, I bet people would like it. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Speaking of people liking stuff, Randy, how about the Charlotte Xfinity TV ratings? The Xfinity Series race at Charlotte Motor Speedway had 1,148,000 total viewers watching William Byron win his first series race in 2017, compared to the 13th race of 2024, and that race was at Portland International Speedway. There was a 56% increase in viewership. This marks the first time since 2016 that the opening 13 races this season have had at least 1 million viewers. I would say that's pretty big time, and I would say that the great coverage that CW is doing is certainly helping TV ratings, but that is really good news. Ratings for the trucks up as well, but this is good stuff.
Well, I think, it's a good weekend. I think it's hard to compare Charlotte to Portland. The time zone has a lot to do with that, too. I think that overall, though, when you talk about 13 races in a row, over 1 million viewers on the Xfinity Series, there's several. So one thing you can say is well, hey, it's all on the CW network, so it's consistent. But people don't keep watching if the product isn't good. So they're doing a good job on the broadcast. If there's a consistent time and spot where you can find the race, and the competition has been good. So I think you put all those things together, it's a really, really good package. And you know me, I think I'm pretty straight when it comes to how I see the NASCAR stuff, and I love the increase in TV ratings. But I'm going to take a little shot at them this time. I read something, and I thought it was a poor way to put it. So the Cup race was down in its rating year over year, and the explanation that was given was, yeah, but that's to be expected because it's a streaming service. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why would you, and I think this is a question worth asking, why would you deliberately make a decision to go to a streaming network, a streaming way to consume the race, if in fact you knew that the rating was going to be lower than if you did it on a conventional television network? Something about that doesn't make sense. And I think if you've mentioned the Truck Series, the numbers were up. The Xfinity Series, the numbers were up. The Cup Series, the numbers were down. And I think part of this is this whole conversation we have, several times a year about where can you find the Cup race. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't hard. I mean, I came home and, found it on Prime, and there it was, and off we went. But I'm not sure that that's the right play. I'm sure there's more to it. I know that they're doing some other content, and then this is a series, number 1 in 4, or 1 in 4 more. Sorry. So I get it, but I feel like the experiment, I'm not sure I would consider it a success.
Okay, well, I'm going to deviate and go to a release that I have in my hand right now about that Cup race. We're in Xfinity, but we'll get back to that. But and I would tell you that I got a couple of good buddies that are Florida crackers that called me on the phone because of the show and said, "Hey, what's up? Where are we going to find the race?" Well, it's on Amazon Prime. Well, we don't have Amazon Prime, so okay, we'll get it. Anyway, so let me just read this to you, and then you comment again. Memorial Day weekend's annual biggest day in racing culminated on Prime Video Sunday, where the streamer launched an inaugural season of NASCAR Cup Series coverage to race fans. The long and short of it here is that the Nielsen data is out. For the first year ever, the race attracted more viewers within key adult demos under the age of 55, 18 to 24, 18 to 49, 25-54, more than any other non-broadcast Cup Series event since 2022. In addition, the audience featured a median age of 55.8 years, which is more than 6 years younger than the average median age of viewers watching the NASCAR Cup Series on regular TV. And then in closing, race fans also stayed up late with NASCAR Prime on Sunday after Ross Chastain's captured the checkered flag. A 67 post-race show averaged 1.4 million, peaking at 1.26 million, despite stiff competition from the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. So, kind of a two-edged sword right there, which, is some good news. I certainly understand the confusion. Fortunately, I have Amazon Prime, so I could see it without any problem. And they did a good job on the broadcast. But I guess my point here is that we've got some demos that typically have not been watching the NASCAR races, such as 1834, 1849, even 2554. So me being in radio, these are very important demos, especially 2554. So thoughts on that one?
Yep, two things. Number one, if you say stiff competition from the NBA, somebody's taking something that it causes them to hallucinate. Okay, so number one. I don't know where that comes from.
Gotcha.
Number two, and by the way, I'm a basketball fan, so don't send Terry any bad letters. But number two, that whole just statistical blah 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 blather there that you just presented to us. At the end of the day, it's less total viewers than by going through the traditional viewership method. I mean, you can beat your own chest and say, look, we had toddlers from 7 to 9 that were really excited, and they did. We've never had that before. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's still about how many people you can watch. You can get to watch. When you start getting excited about something that you've never accomplished before, but it's less than what you were accomplishing, you got to go, wait a minute. I equate this to. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to give this one. I'm a car guy, and even though I'm a Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram dealer, I like lots of cars, different brands, and I appreciate all of them. And one of the great brands of all time, when I was growing up, and Terry, you'll know it too, and we can start naming off all kinds of cool cars from this brand, was Oldsmobile.
Oh, yeah.
And it was one of the most loyal groups of people in the entire industry to that car. They had some hot rods. The 442 was clearly a hot rod.
Yes.
Pontiac Trans Am, but they also you could get a luxury version, a Grand Prix, but you could get one with a big motor. I mean, it was that's a Pontiac, sorry, and so was the Firebird. But the Delta, you could get a Delta Royal, you could get Chrome. I mean, they had
Delta
some
88
cool stuff.
Yep.
Delta,
Yep.
all that stuff, right?
Yep.
Even their station wagon was cool. And then all of a sudden they go, if somebody had a great idea in an office on a whiteboard, I think it's the same person who came up with the Bud Light advertising, and they said, you know what? We need to attract the younger demographic. So let's just go ahead and ignore our customer base, and let's come up with a campaign, and we'll call it "Not Your Father's Oldsmobile."
Okay, well, okay.
Where's
Let me throw another
They're gone.
knuckler to you along this line. DirecTV, the business end of DirecTV, has now partnered with Amazon Prime, and they have over 300,000 commercial premises customers that are. So they're going to carry the rest of the races, beginning with Sunday's race, on DirecTV business as well. So there's another aspect of all this. I get exactly what you're saying. There's no doubt about it. I guess it is what it is, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens.
How about this one? I'm going to do this here. Let's take another iconic American brand in the motorcycle world.
Oh boy.
And okay. And well, we've got to be more. We've got to reach a younger audience. Our people are aging out, and we're going to have to do something to attract. And guess what? They built an electric Harley.
Well, I guess what I will say about that, I've been doing lots of studying on Harley. I used to be a big-time Harley guy, as were you. You still have a Harley, I think. But, wow, that's another Bud Light story. Mark, take your hand away from the button, Mr. Mark. So, yeah, we could, really get into a rant on this, but I'm not sure that this show is going to influence any changes as far as this goes.
Think here's the deal. The real challenge with marketing and growing anything is never, ever, ever, ever alienate your base, while at the same time trying to figure out how to get and grow and expand the market. That's the ticket. Okay, don't ever.
Coca-Cola is another
alienate the
example.
base. Yeah,
You
remember when they changed
Coca-Cola
it?
did?
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Let's try to get back on the track. We have run against the wall, ladies and gentlemen. And I would tell you that the 2 calls that I got and some emails, but the 2 calls that I got that I know these people personally are the true NASCAR fan. I mean, they are the true NASCAR fans, and they were like pretty wound up about it. So we'll see what happens. We know for sure that NASCAR does have their ear to the ground, and we'll see what happens. You know, and last thing I'll say on this is, and I use this phrase as we watch things happen in the car business and Harley and all kinds, greed kills. And as we get more into it's all about the money, then we lose customers, et cetera. Anyway, Rockingham and Xfinity. Rockingham Speedway is up for sale, Randy. Dan Lovenheim, who really got that thing ready to go, and the Truck Series after more than a decade got back there, and the Xfinity Series back there and hadn't been there since 2004. Got it all ready to go, remodel, et cetera. And Mr. Lovenheim has said, it's time for someone else to take over now, to take it to the next step. He said, we got it through first gear, was his quote. And kind of a surprising thing, but Rockingham Speedway is up for sale.
Well, I think I will tell you this. There's so many good things about racing at Rockingham. The communities to the north and around were all so excited to have the race back at Rockingham. The crowd, the place was sold out. The racing was very good. I think he's right. I mean, I think there's still some facility improvements that need to be made when it comes to suites and accessibility and some of that stuff. But there's opportunity. I don't think that's never going to happen unless there's some sort of I don't believe selling it is going to be something they'll be successful at unless they know that they can get a scheduled event. And I think ultimately it's going to have it at some point has to have a cup event. Now, where they found their niche there this year, which we can have that discussion too, was Easter weekend. They didn't race on Sunday. They raced on Saturday and on Friday. The Truck Series on Friday and the Xfinity Series on Saturday. I would prefer that weekend be off for everybody, all the way off, not just Sunday. But I think that was good. It was great racing. I enjoyed being there. I've got my own Rockingham story, and we'll save it for another day. But I do appreciate his perspective. I think he's taking a good thing and saying, hey, it can be better, but it's going to have to take somebody else to get it there. I appreciate that.
Do you think NASCAR's network of track ownership could be a buyer?
I think NASCAR is in the business of acquiring property and not only the racing facility but property around it. So I am not aware of any discussion, but there's more than just NASCAR racing that can happen there. The Cars Tour could race there. There's late model racing that can happen there. It's a big place for late models, but there's more that can happen there. So I certainly would think that probably more than one interest will be taking a peek at it.
Well, let's hope something good happens there. One more quick story in Xfinity before we move to Cup. Say that again, Randy.
No, that was it. I'm good.
Okay. So let's talk Xfinity race, Nashville, and this may get you going again, but it's been 3. We talked about this quite a bit. We know who won the Xfinity race last Saturday. It's been 3 races since NASCAR Xfinity Series full-timers have celebrated a victory. Richard Childress Racing's Austin Hill was the last of the championship available drivers or eligible drivers to win a race, and that was April 26th at Talladega. So he's the only Xfinity Series regular to score top 10 finishes in the last 4 Nashville races. So, we've talked a lot about the Cup guys and these other series, and they're kind of dominating the Xfinity Series. We've had one winner that is eligible actually for the championship in the series. Thoughts on that one?
I think this is part of the problem. You give a certain number of guys that they get. I think it's 5 races. It's tough because you're really trying to build the personalities and the character and the who these people are, in the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series and so on. And when the Cup people show up, they dominate the media. And so it really, I think, in the end, long-term, big picture, I think it's more detrimental than it is good. I would say that if they, and this would be a way I think that it would probably be through evolution, but if they had the same mentality toward these guys coming down, where it says, hey, if you want to come down and do that, and you want to get in the race, and you want to take up a spot, I don't think that any regular series driver, Xfinity or Truck Series, should have to go home because a Cup driver showed up.
Right.
I think that's wrong. I think it's difficult for those guys to build a business model, and so if the Cup guy wants to show up, then say fine, okay, he's not eligible for points, he's not eligible for purse money. He's not, if he wants to do it for whatever reason he wants to do it, I guess that's okay, but you're not going to get paid. And you're not going that might, in sending home, I've watched this now for a few weeks, a couple guys that, I'm not going to pick on them, but they have to go home.
Right. Because
the Cup car is taking the spot, and I don't think that's good. I think that's counterproductive.
Not fair. Absolutely. With that, ladies and gentlemen, as we're blowing through our time, let's roll right into the Cup section of Trackside here.
UniFirst presents Conversation about the NASCAR Cup Series, the pinnacle in auto racing. Just like Cup, UniFirst is also the leader of the pack as the uniform and facility service experts. Let's go back to our hosts, Randy and Terry.
All right. Well, we talked about the Chris Butcher RFK racing penalty after Kansas. That has been appealed. We know that that team was penalized $75,000, 60 championship points, and 5 playoff points. 2 race suspension for the crew chief, who's already served that. The fine has been paid, but the appeal has gone forward. The team violated the front bumper cover, and they're saying now that the team did not violate the exhaust cover panel. So the 5 driver points is still there, but the 60-point championship driver team and owner points has been reduced to 30. So they have backed up a little bit. Again, the fine's been paid, the suspension's been served, but they got some of the points. They got half the points back for championship driver and team owner.
Well, so you were bad, just not as bad as we thought. I think here's the thing that I appreciate more than the outcome of that there's a process to challenge what they find. I think that part I like a lot. I think, and knowing how that process works, and knowing that these are actually independent of the NASCAR officials, they're independent individuals. I think it's probably one of the most fair, objective, sanctioning kind of a umpire referee situation that there is. I think it's a great process. So how the outcome, whatever, that's up to them. I just love the fact that there's an objective party or an objective body to interpret, enforce, and hear appeals. I think it's a great plan.
Well, and it certainly helps the team to have that reduced to 30 instead of 60. There's no doubt about that. How about this? Mike Ford met in separate meetings with team owners and drivers, and they are considering an increase in horsepower for short tracks to 750 horsepower. Obviously, the drivers are for it. Looks like team owners are for it, and Mike Ford says, "Hey, you guys got it. We're going to work with the engine builders and see what we can do to make this happen." So that would make a difference on the short tracks with 750 horsepower.
Yeah, I'm not. Here's one of those things that I'd say. I look at that and I go, why? What are you trying to gain? What's the point? Because the competition is pretty good. Are you saying that somehow more horsepower is going to make you're going to not use the bumper as much? I mean, what's the goal of more horsepower on short tracks? I would love to hear the answer to that question, because the simple idea of just making more horsepower doesn't necessarily make it a better competitive race. You could dial the horsepower down to 550, and it's going to be competitive. And at the end of the day, the fans are looking for competition. They're looking for close racing. So I don't know that I mean, somebody's got to know why they would suggest such a thing. I just don't know what it is. I don't think it's going to make it, somehow it's going to make it less, going to be making it less wrecks. I don't think that's going to do it. Now, I know the idea is, well, somehow you're going to get, if you got more horsepower, you have more tools. Yeah, okay, but everybody's going to get the opportunity to have the same amount of horsepower. So I don't know that I get it. I'd love to hear I would absolutely love to hear the answer.
I've heard some drivers say, with the horsepower that they have right now in short track, you can't pass. More horsepower would help. I'm sure with everybody has the same amount of horsepower, how it's going to make a difference. But I'm with you. I think it's a good question. What is the real reason behind it? And if you remember, we used to have 800 horsepower, I believe, in all the races, and they peeled that back. We'll wait and see. At least it's being considered, and at least NASCAR does listen to drivers and to owners and try to accommodate and make things better. So that's good. How about this one? This one kind of created a little bit of an uproar. Jim France had considered a deal to enter the Cup race at Sonoma. He has a driver going to put a Cup car out there under their team, but I guess there was so much backlash about conflict of interest, et cetera, that they backed down. They were going to use a car to be operated by Spire Motorsports, and let's see here, Jack Aiken, a 29-year-old road course specialist, would be the driver. He drives for a France-owned team called Action Express Racing in the International Motorsports Association. But the deal was close to completion, but fell apart shortly after the Athletic began asking questions about the arrangement last week. I was surprised to have this one come across my desk here, Randy. What do you think?
Well, I'd say it this way. So you said it already, that Action Express is a team that is owned by Mr. France in a series that is owned by Mr. France.
Right.
And they are subject to the rules. I would tell you that they are I will tell you that they are probably under more scrutiny than the other organizations because of that. And, oh, by the way, let's think about this. So Roger Penske owns IndyCar Racing, and I think he has some cars in the IndyCar series, right?
You think?
And then, so the idea, I don't know, I do not believe for a minute. Let me just say it. I'll get to the point. I do not believe for a minute that the uproar, quote unquote uproar, of the competition of others saying, well, that's just not right. No, I ain't buying that one at all. The easiest thing for Mr. France to do if he wants to race something is to go race it someplace else and compete in somebody else's series, because then all the world's eyes aren't on him in his own. I think it's far harder, far more difficult to race in his own series than it is to go race somewhere else. Not even close.
Yep. Well, it's been scrapped. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, we do go to Nashville. The Cup guys will be there on Sunday, and that will be on Amazon Prime. Just a closing note, last year's Nashville race featured the most overtime finishes in history, an extra 31 laps in a fifth overtime. So, Randy, I guess what's being said here, it's highly likely that we'll see some beating and banging and some wrecking at Nashville on Sunday evening.
I'm going to say something about this overtime thing, and I want you to think about it, and maybe some people will comment about it. Once overtime has been declared, once they're going to have to go overtime racing, I believe that everybody should have the opportunity to come down pit road and add fuel. Not tires, but add fuel to finish the overtime process, because nobody knows for sure how long that's going to take. So in other words, how you are on the racetrack, the lineup that's on the racetrack, it's the same way we're going to line you back up once you go back out, and the only thing you can do is add fuel. Okay, period. You can't take on tires, you can't make air pressure adjustments, you can't make wedge adjustments. All you can do is add fuel so that people get the opportunity to finish. And further than that, I don't believe any overtime. You've decided that you're going to go into overtime. I don't believe it should be green, white, checkered. I believe every overtime race should be 5 laps, and so that it's not this balls to the wall, wreck somebody and keep wrecking somebody until you get to where you want to go. Those are the changes that I would make to overtime finishes.
I think that's a very smart and very economical, so many cars get torn up. We are out of time, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, Randy has said it. Nobody knows for sure. Danica has said only her hairdresser knows for sure. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we love you so much. Get out and see some racing. We'll see you next week right here on Trackside.
See you at the racetrack, everybody.
And with the checkered flag waving, we're wrapping up this week's edition of Trackside. Fear not, race fans, because we'll be back next week, proudly presented by Document Technologies. Tune in for a fresh new episode packed with engaging interviews, captivating conversations, and all the exhilarating moments you've come to expect. Until then, keep the racing spirit alive, and we'll see you next time on Trackside.